Okay. Another observation that I've found is that a lot of people have memorized introductions, and it sounds like a memorized introduction. And those are ones that look good on paper, but it's entirely disjointed when you speak it out loud. And think to yourself, do you have a memorized 30-second commercial that sounds great on paper, but when you're saying it out loud, it's a little long? You know, how many of you think that your commercial sounds canned or scripted? Some of that is spilling it too early without finding out about the other person or your audience first. But honestly, sometimes it makes you sound a little desperate, almost like you're begging for a job. You need to be prepared, but not canned. And there's a big difference. And I'll give you an example of, before we get into coaching, because I'd like to do that first, or next. I want to give an example of Jim, who was looking for a small to mid-sized healthcare company. And what his specialty is small to mid-sized healthcare companies who have a service or maybe a product that it takes a long time to get to market because their operations are very sluggish, and it ends up costing them a lot of customers. Well, what Jim does is quickly identify what the bottlenecks are. He puts together some smart metrics, and his next employer is going to get somebody that can turn around their underperforming operations in record time. And so that's an example. It's a little long. You can always hone that down, but it gives you a good idea of how to frame your specialty. It's casual, but it gets to the point of who your target employer would be and what your value proposition is to an employer, and that's very, very compelling. I've also noticed that if people go on and on in their introduction for more than 60 seconds, people's eyes start to glaze over and you lose people's attention. So you do need to keep it relatively short. Something else that you can do is pause in between sections, those 3 sections, to get someone's nod of understanding. And if they look confused, then you can explain further. So if you said, for instance, a small to medium technology company that has small to medium technology companies and get a nod, and that have this problem, blah, 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 and get a nod. Well, this is what I do. And this is what an employer is going to get if they hire me. But if you ask questions about the other person first, then you can modify your response based upon what they told you. And you do that based upon, let's say, for instance, you find out that their career has been spent in a really large company or in really large companies. And if you're open to the possibility of working for a large company, then your response might be, you know how some mid to large size companies in the healthcare industry often have sluggish operations and it's really costing them customers? Well, what I do is, and that way they're able to help you more because that's where their influence is. They know a lot of people in a healthcare company if they spent their life in healthcare with a large company. So you could modify your response to get the most out of the person that you're talking with. And it doesn't take a 20-minute conversation to make a connection with somebody. It really only takes 2 or 3 questions of the ones that I mentioned. And you can build a connection by finding out more about that person. And everyone likes to talk about themselves. But I do think it's important to have something in place before you leave home, at least a general idea of what you're going to say. I like this formula because it can be, once you get used to it and you say it in front of your spouse or in front of the mirror 50 different times, it's going to feel a lot more natural. And you can go and just explain what it is that you do and what problem you take care of. However, I think that you do have to spend a lot of thought into it. So spend more than the next couple of minutes figuring yours out. I would want you to spend some time with it this afternoon and maybe just hone it a little bit. I'll give you an example. Hold on. So mine is I help my 6-figure clients get their next job in weeks and not months. So that says who I work with, six-figure clients, and that here's what I do. I help them get their next job in weeks and not months. The months part infers that that's their problem, that it's taking them months to find something, but my solution is that I can help them get their next job in weeks. So that's pretty clear. And if you're in my target audience, then your ears are perking up because you're thinking, hey, I want to get a job in weeks and not months. So now that's my tagline. I put it everywhere. I put it on all my documents and on my website. So do you know how long it took me to come up with that? It was about 6 months from the time I started, from its present form to its present form. And I think I actually looked back on some of my old documents when I was putting this information together, and my first version was more like, I work with clients who make between $80,000 and $400,000 a year who are looking for their next career. And with my strategies and support, they can save months of searching, which equates to tens of thousands of dollars. So that's not bad, and I know you probably perked up your ears a little bit at the end with that tens of thousands of dollars comment. But I was able to really hone it down to really distill it into its bare minimum, but it still really gets the point across. So now I'd like to ask for a volunteer. Anybody on the phone, and I would recommend, because I know that we've got a ton of people on the web right now, if you want some free coaching, feel free to dial in and use the password and get in, and I would be happy to give you some free coaching. So is there anybody on the phone that would like some help from me in working through their audio business card? If you have a question, if you'd like some coaching, go ahead and press *2. And I'm not getting anybody just yet. Any takers? Okay, I've got somebody raising their hand. So let me unmute you. So the last three numbers, I'm not going to mention your name unless you want to introduce yourself. Last three numbers are 869 of your phone number. And you can remain anonymous if you want to. You're now unmuted, or should be. But also know that there's about 85 people who are listening to the call right now. And there's going to be countless others who may be listening to the recording later. And one of them just might know somebody that's looking for what you can offer their next employer. So now is your chance to shine, because I'm going to make you look really good. What is your name?
Dan.
Hey, Dan. Hi. All right. So let's talk about your audio business card. If you think, for step one, if you had your perfect company, what size company would it be?
Startup.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Well,
excellent.
Small startup to mid-size, actually. It should not restrict myself.
Okay. Startup is good. There's actually quite a number of startups, especially in technology and the biomed field here in Kansas City. So that's good. So what industry would you prefer to work in if there was a startup that needed your expertise?
What I would prefer is someone who uses technology to solve, to meet a need of the society. It's not technology per se, but using technology. For example, it could be a payroll processing company who is using technology online for doing payroll for others, or it could be a site where just a Groupon kind of selling site stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's perfect. I like that, because what you're doing there is not even putting a specific label on the industry, because it could be healthcare, it could be internet marketing, it could be a lot of different things that use technology in order to help their customers, right?
And that's true. And healthcare would be the best thing, because healthcare can only grow from here. It's one of the industries where not much technology has been used.
Yeah, exactly.
In the business of it.
And there's a lot of regulations that are coming about that are going to force healthcare to use technology. So it's a great market to be in and to focus on. So you're looking, I mean, if you were to have your perfect company, you're looking for a healthcare startup that uses technology to solve problems for their customers or clients, right?
Right.
Okay. And then what would be the core problem or the gap that you would be filling? What is it that you can do for that type of company specifically?
Well, it sounds very much like what Jim was doing in your example. I would say that one of the main problems in getting, some of this technology being used in, say, healthcare or in some other areas serving small business is the fact that, one, people do not know how to use them. Two, there may be some reservation because people may think that it will cost me more. What's my return? So what I can solve is essentially do a consultative selling, showing people how this will be advantageous, and also I can, since I have, let me mention that here, Six Sigma Green Belt, I can show some metrics and then show how this will improve and hence help sell those products and implement those products.
So you're specifically you're talking about a healthcare startup that uses technology to help customers or clients solve problems, but they don't really know how to get the most out of their technology. And so you're able to be able to explain this technology in a consultative selling situation?
Right.
Okay. So you're able to do that better than most because you're able to, and you're specifically, even though you have a Six Sigma, are you looking specifically for sales and not for operations?
No. In fact, I'm not a particularly sales kind of guy. I'm not a what they call door opener with my accent, as you can see or hear. But it's mostly operations. My last role was an operations role in a manufacturing industry.
Okay. And you want to continue in operations then, or do a sales support role? I'm trying to, because the way you frame the gap that you'd be filling would be dependent upon whether you're wanting to save a company money through Six Sigma and operational streamlining, or if you're wanting to make a company money through consultative selling.
Make money, I guess.
Okay.
Consultative selling, what they call, I could be a good farmer that I have done in my past a lot of time. So essentially, as opposed to hunter. So if there is someone who shows a little interest, then I can go help in the sales support role, and also help implement some of those, which is not only just sales support; it's a combined sales support operational role.
Okay.
The way I'm saying it aloud here with all the people there, the way COO of a company is responsible for both sales as well as customer relations and the implementation, the operation of the not just internal operation but the sales side operation. So that is the kind of role.
Are you looking for that level? Are you looking for a senior leadership level?
No.
Okay. All right. What would be the benefits of hiring? What would a company get when they hire you?
Well, apart from, I do not know how to say this. I have extensive experience in doing something similar, but in different industries or just services, providing services in different areas. But specific benefit would be, I would say that creating rapport with the customers so that I can untangle some of the spots that companies find themselves in.
Okay.
That's my main.
So but I think it would probably go beyond creating rapport. It sounds like you're really good with I'm assuming with your Six Sigma background, you're really good at solving the customer's problems, using that technology to solve their problems in a really creative way.
Right. And that creative part is very, very interesting and very important. You are right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So really, here's how I see your audio business card. So you know how startups, and you can say healthcare startups, you know how healthcare startups that use technology to help their clients oftentimes don't know how to get the most out of the technology that they're selling. So if there's a company out there that would hire you, they're really going to get someone that understands technology and can use it to creatively solve the problems of their clients. Does that sound good?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. And of course, I this is just knowing you for 5 minutes. So I would, to really hone it, I would want you to spend a lot more time on it. But really, that's what it sounds like you're doing. And you don't have to say, I'm looking for a sales support engineer role or an account manager role. What you're saying is you can articulate the best use of the technology that they have to help their clients in a very effective and creative way. Does that sound good?
Good.
Good. Okay. Very good. Very good. Is there anybody else? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have any other questions? Okay. All right. Anybody else that would like me to walk you through before I go into the next section? Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and actually, before we move into that 60-second commercial, which is the answer to Tell Me About Yourself, I do want to tell you about a free resume workshop that I'm doing because I've got 4 seats left for tomorrow's workshop. It is a resume reboot workshop, and it's a 2-hour workshop. It's put on by the New Landings organization, and I teach it. It's my information, and if you want more information about and if you want to sign up, you can go to resumerebootworkshop.eventbrite, and that's eventbrite.com. And we've got 4 seats left. So if you are interested in doing that, go ahead and register. It's from 1 to 3 tomorrow afternoon. And it's in Kansas at their headquarters, which is 79th Street around Quivira. I would love to see you there. But we do have a small class. There's about 25 people that's the maximum capacity. You're going to get a lot of information, and like I said, it's free. So let's move on to I just want to tell you that before we moved on. Let's move on to the 60-second commercial. So this is the Tell Me About Yourself. It's called Answering the Tell Me About Yourself question. So that's the worksheet that I want you to take a look at. This is how to answer when an employer asks the question, so tell me about yourself. If you're talking to a hiring manager, decision maker, the person that would be your boss, if you're talking to them on the phone, this is probably the first question that they're going to ask you. If you haven't, let's say you have only talked to HR, and now you're face-to-face with the decision maker, they're still going to ask you for the first time, tell me about yourself. That's going to be their first question. So here's how I'd like you to answer it. Begin with an extremely brief career overview. And I'm talking 10 seconds or less. I like to say to my clients, give it 2 or 3 breaths. That's it. I mean, just not very much, maybe 2 to 3 sentences. So you can say something like, I've spent most of my career in operations. I've got, and you can say I've got 16 years of experience in operations, spent my entire career there. And most recently, I've been with XYZ company as a XYZ person. So just a really brief career overview. Or you could say, I got my degree in personnel management, but actually I've been in sales for most of my career. Or that I started my career in this industry, in this type of job, and then I moved into this role later on, and most recently I've been working for, and then explain that. Education, if applicable, if it makes for an interesting story, you can add that. If you've got an advanced degree, MBA, you absolutely want to mention that. And you can even mention it in the beginning. Well, I got my MBA in, or you can say, and I just got my MBA 2 years ago, something like that. So you're giving a very brief career overview. Don't give a whole lot. The reason you want to do this is keeping in mind what the employer wants to know. I know that in listening to my clients, I had a sales client who said, well, the way that I like to say it is I start out with, I knew I wanted to be a salesperson when I was 6 years old and I opened my first lemonade stand. You know, that's great, but an employer really wants to know, what can you do for me? And so you want to make it really concise. You don't want to tell them lots of hobbies, and it's not a time right now to talk about everything that you've done, everywhere that you've been, and everything personal. And I know oftentimes you don't know what they want to hear, but really what they want to hear boils down to, what can you do for me? What is it? Why are you here? You know, what is it that you can do for me? So you give that really brief career overview. And then you follow it with something like what I have on this worksheet, which is, as a result of my experience, I really feel my key strengths are, or as a result of my experience, I've found that I'm very strong at. And then you list, just like a bullet-pointed list, the strengths that you possess. So, you know, I would say if you're changing industries, I recommend suggesting, especially if you're maybe over 50 years old, I suggest that the last strength that you have is that you learn quickly and you're able to make a positive contribution to the bottom line pretty quickly. So then you have to think about and spend some time on, this is really important, spend some time on what your core strengths are, because that's your unique selling proposition. Your core strengths are a combination of your strengths, your achievements, the how behind how you've accomplished your achievements, what sets you apart from everybody else, and also your education. Nobody has that combination of your experience and your strengths and your achievements and your education. That's all unique to you. So as a result of that, what are your 3 or 4 strengths?